Criminal street gangs represent one of the most vexing public safety problems facing American communities today. They're found in our cities, in our suburban neighborhoods, and in rural parts of the country. Our failure to secure our borders is one of the factors contributing to the proliferation of criminal street gangs today. National threat assessments highlight the growth of immigrant gangs in particular, gangs like MS-13, Sureños, Mexican Mafia, and thousands of others.
MS-13, or Mara Salvatrucha, is the most rapidly expanding and most dangerous gang in the United States. It originated in the mid-1980s as millions of Central Americans fleeing civil unrest in their home countries immigrated to the United States. Most came illegally. Many of them had paramilitary training and had been desensitized to violence. This is true of even the younger immigrants, who today are the gang's ringleaders. They first came to the Los Angeles region and then quickly spread throughout the country, largely along traditional migration routes. They gained another foothold in Northern Virginia and the general Washington, D.C. metropolitan area. Our research indicates that MS-13 currently exists in 48 states and the District of Columbia. As of 2005, there were approximately 10,000 hardcore MS-13 gang members in the United States and an additional 50,000 throughout El Salvador, Honduras, Guatemala, and Mexico. Some reports suggest that there are about 100,000 total members of MS-13 throughout the Western Hemisphere. According to Immigration and Customs Enforcement, MS-13 members are primarily foreign-born, in the United States illegally, with prior convictions, and are involved in crimes that have some sort of nexus to the border. While it varies from one jurisdiction to another, it is estimated that anywhere from 60 to 90% of MS-13 members are in the United States illegally. This is a clear indication that basic enforcement of immigration laws on the federal, state, and local levels would go far in reducing the threat of gang crime. It is undeniable that lax enforcement has allowed MS-13 and similar gangs to flourish in the United States.
Immigration law tools can and should be used to disrupt gang activity, to gather evidence and intelligence on gang operations, to remove gangsters from the street and from the country for that matter, but also to help dismantle the entire gang operation. Immigration law also provides protection for victims and incentives for informants and witnesses to come forward to help with gang investigation. But most state and local law enforcement agencies are not even aware of these tools or how they can be used to help in their investigations. Since 2005, when it launched Operation Community Shield, federal immigration agents working in cooperation with state and local law enforcement agencies have arrested more than 7,000 criminal gangsters. They were responsible for a variety of serious and often violent crimes, including more than 100 killers, over 100 sex offenders. Another 1,300 were charged with violent assaults, kidnappings, or shootings. More than 1,000 had drug charges. More than 800 were arrested on weapons charges, and more than 1,000 were involved in theft or robbery crimes. The public safety benefits of this cooperative initiative are indisputable. Places like Fairfax, Virginia, Dallas, and Boston have all reported noticeable drops in gang crime as a result of these initiatives. And local officials there feel like they're actually making headway against the problem rather than watching it continue to spiral out of control. Some local police forces have been hesitant to work with ICE or even prevented from working with ICE because they've been told that if they do, immigrants in the community will become reluctant to report crimes if they know that ICE is going to be involved. Our research and fieldwork found out that these concerns are understandable, but they turned out not to be a problem if the local law enforcement agencies take the time to work with immigrant community leaders and organizations to explain how the gang suppression works. Some immigrants do bring with them a fear of authorities from their home country, but these fears can be overcome gradually once it is explained to them that victims of crime are not the targets of immigration law enforcement. When we analyzed the various successful anti-gang efforts, we found that often immigrant community leaders were the most supportive, and the reason is because people in their communities are often the victim of gangs like MS-13, and their children are the targets of recruitment for these gangs.
MS-13's motto, as reported by the FBI, is Mata, Viola, Controla, or Kill, Rape, Control. In order to do just that and maintain their numbers, the gang regularly recruits young immigrant children. It's been reported that MS-13 has targeted students as young as second graders. This is not without logic. The gang concludes that a member under the age of 18 will likely get a lighter sentence and will be less likely to be deported than those members over the age of 18, even for the same crime. So by directing younger recruits to conduct the most violent crimes, MS-13 can maximize violence. But young children are not the only targets. The immigrant community as a whole is threatened by gang violence. There are countless examples of MS-13 destroying the lives of law-abiding immigrants. U.S. Customs and Border Protection reports that MS-13 will do any crime at any time. The gang has been involved in numerous murders, assaults, kidnappings, prostitution, rape, robbery, burglary, extortion, and it plays a central role in the trafficking of weapons and narcotics. Much of this takes place in immigrant communities. What's most sad is that many immigrants have come to the U.S. in an attempt to escape such violence and criminality. It's clear that state and local communities which welcome illegal immigration through sanctuary policies, the issuance of driver's licenses to illegal aliens, and by funding illegal alien day labor hiring centers, for example, are contributing to the spread of these gangs. It is equally clear that enforcement of immigration laws on the state and local level, and the reduction of illegal immigration generally, is a benefit to legal immigrants. There are many steps communities can take to reduce gang activity.
First of all, local leaders need to make sure that their jurisdictions do not become havens for illegal settlement. Gang membership is not a full-time job. Most of them work during the day in construction or farming or other low-skilled labor. So preventing access to employment is very important, along with preventing access to services or identification that can help them blend into the community. They need to make sure that local law enforcement agencies have procedures in place that will allow them to identify criminal aliens. They need basic training in immigration law, and they need to know what services are available from ICE, such as a 24/7 support center, victim and witness protections, and investigative authorities. Above all, they should not be prevented from working with ICE or prevented from inquiring about the status of a criminal that they encounter. Our research shows that the only effective way to address the transnational gang problem and other crimes that have a connection to illegal immigration, such as drug trafficking, human smuggling, identity fraud, and so on, is through a cooperative approach that utilizes every law enforcement tool available, including immigration law.
For more information on this topic, please visit www.cis.org.